Evolve your game and get a $100 bonus. Sign up now at TVG.com.
Commanding Curve is a big price on the morning line, and he found trouble in some of his recent starts, but he's been able to overcome that trouble. He seems like he's somewhat of an athletic horse. I think he's going to love the 1.25 mile distance with his running style. As we take a look back here at the Louisiana Derby, you can see number 7 is Commanding Curve. Gets bounced around out of the starting gate. Not the best start to a big race like that.
Yeah, pushed in immediately, and that's going to drop him back to last in that field of 10, and then he's going to end up passing 7 of those horses and eventually finishing 3rd. He's eligible for an entry-level allowance race. I mean, this is a horse that has only won a maiden. Yet, he's got a chance to get a piece of it in the Kentucky Derby. I don't know if you're going to put him on top in any of your exotics, but you're probably going to throw him in there for 3rd or 4th.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I have a pick 4, he's on my pick 4.
You're using him.
Yeah, I will be using him just because there looks to be a lot of speed. I like the way he runs on here to finish 3rd, even after all that trouble he had throughout that trip. Now, he also goes back to the Bayou's Blues graphic as well, as he's coming out of the Louisiana Derby, obviously, as is Intense Holiday and Vickers in trouble. And then he has just a maiden win on his record. It was only 3 starts ago.
Well, you're going to lose Robbie Alvarado to medal counts.
Yes.
You pick up Sean Bridgmahan here,
who was aboard for that maiden win 3 starts back. So he knows this horse pretty well.
Yeah, he's ridden him twice out of the 6 starts, so it would make sense to go back to a rider that has won with him. 50 to 1 on the morning line.
Big price, big chance. At least that's how I'm looking at it. Next up is Candy Boy, who is going to be taking back off the pace on Saturday, trying to make one big run.
I would think so.
Gary Stevens gets back aboard. He was aboard for that good win back in the Robert B. Lewis on February 8th. And then last time out when finishing 3rd in the Santa Anita Derby behind California Chrome and Opportunity.
Gary Stevens has liked this horse all along. You know, he felt early on in this year that this was a Kentucky Derby horse that could get the job done. He didn't win the Santa Anita Derby. He got bet heavily that day, too. He was the 5-2 second choice to California Chrome, and he did not complete the exact. He ended up finishing 3rd, but he raced up near the lead. And another one that just kind of didn't do what he normally would, because to have a chance, they had to stay closer than normal. But when you go back to the Robert B. Lewis, he sat. He was about 2 lengths off, and he ended up nailing his target in this race.
He certainly did, and this is where he really jumped on the radar and caught the eye of many, and understandably so, as he goes out behind that top trio there and goes on to win by about a half a length when all was said and done. And that was his first start in nearly 2 months. It was his 2014 debut. Candy Boy takes back, tries to make a big run. I think if he gets a clear run, he could certainly hit the ticket.
You know, his numbers, whether it be time form US numbers, Thorograph numbers, Bayer numbers, aren't as good as everybody else's. He still hasn't had a race that stacks him up from a figures standpoint that matches him up with some of the top horses in there. But I think he's the horse that will be running his best race. He's going to run an improved number in the Kentucky Derby.
There's a look at how sweet it is as we take a look at the Kentucky Derby wins for Hall of Fame rider, jockey Gary Stevens. And you have 3 all within less than 10 years. Winning Colors, the filly, back in '88. And then you saw the other 2 there, most recent being Silver Charm. Now we have On Curlin, who was a good 2nd in that most recent start. That was the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, when beaten 4 3/4 lengths behind Danza, and he wasn't that big of a price in that event, On Curlin. He was only 7 to 1 in that field.
And he's done a little bit of everything as far as the way he races. He's on the lead one day. The next day, he's coming from off the pace. The next day, he's somewhere in the middle of the pack. So I can't really figure out his running style.
Right.
But the days that Calvin Burrell have ridden him, he seemed to be a little more forwardly placed than those afternoons where another rider was on. So I think Calvin gets the most speed out of On Curlin, and he might try to position him somewhere in the middle of the pack. And we know how good Calvin Burrell can be skimming that rail at Churchill Downs and getting a good trip. Mind That Bird comes to mind.
On Curlin, 15 to 1 on the morning line going out for Billy Gowan.